All aboard! Isn't it amazing how time flies? Today is already the 5th of February 2022. And hello, my good and wonderful people. Welcome to Volunteer Channel TV. If this is your first time coming across my channel, click that red subscribe button so that anytime I drop a video, it'll come straight to you. If you're already a subscriber, I say thank you and may God continue to bless you in anything that you do in life. Calling on my prayer warriors to continue to pray for Mazim Nnamdi Kanu and the lawyers. Your prayers are working. Yes, your prayers are working. We are patiently waiting for the 16th of February by 1 p.m. Mazim Nnamdi Kanu is going to be appearing in court once more, so that they will deliberate. They are going to be deliberating on the 15-count charges they levied on him, and we are hoping that the judge will throw it out of court and release Mazim Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, and hopefully we get a date for a referendum. Yes, there's a brilliant analysis made by Honorable Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Michael Zekome, that's going viral. Is going viral. Please continue to share this clip. Continue to share it till it gets to the right authorities. Possibly the president. We want him to hear this. We want him to hear this. Watch this clip and we come back and we talk about it.
That a clash. So, what did IPOB do that you promptly declared them a terrorist group in 2017? I think about August. IPOB is known to be clamoring for one thing: self-determination. Self-determination is a right recognized by the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. It is recognized by the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. It is recognized by the European Convention on Human Rights. It is recognized by the American Intergovernmental Convention on Human Rights. It is recognized by the Indigenous People's Rights Instrument. It is recognized by the civilized world that where a people feel they are suffocating under a particular system, like the Nigerian system, which they call federalism, which is actually unitary, they have a right to seek for self-determination. Whoever knew that USSR, the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, would break up into smithereens, into about 15 independent nations. Eritrea and Ethiopia used to be one country. Today they are two sovereign countries. Sudan and Southern Sudan used to be one country. Today they are separate countries. India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh used to be one country. Today they are separate countries. So you cannot say a people cannot seek for self-determination if the system under which they are presently being held together, being coupled together forcibly, is no longer working, or is now asphyxiating, or is hemorrhaging, or is suffocating. They can seek for self-determination. That is all that IPOB has been saying. And we all see IPOB. We see them moving on the streets, blowing whistle, wearing beret, singing, dancing, with clubs. How does that make them a terrorist group? The military high command in 2017 first quickly came out before the formal proscription through the office of the Attorney General under Section 2 of the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011 that IPOC was hereby banned. And what was the offenses? According to the military high command, you can Google it by yourself. Said they were carrying clubs, they were throwing pebbles and stones, and that they seized a rifle from a female military officer and 2 rifles from other military officer. That was why they declared them terrorist group. But Boko Haram, that has been ravaging Nigeria, killing Nigerians in their homes, on the streets, in the markets, in churches, in mosques, bombing. You have not declared them terrorist groups specifically. Boko Haram, that is occupying swaths of land in the northern part of Nigeria, particularly in the northeast, controlling many local government areas, with the governor crying out, controlling many local government areas in Niger State, with the governor crying out. Boko Haram, that now give passes, set up their own government, and impose taxes on the indigenes, that they must pay tax, and they must pay certain tithes and certain dues, and with a pass before they can pass, because they can go somewhere. You haven't seen such a group that is challenging your sovereignty and your suzerainty, challenging your legitimacy as a terrorist group. That is double speak by this government, and it is this kind of double speak, this kind of self-contradiction, that the insecurity is still festering and ravaging. You need to do things holistically, using the same rule. Not rule of law for some people, and then rule of the thumb for others. It cannot work. A group is challenging your legitimacy, making your state look like a failed state. And one of the greatest indices of a failed state, apart from grinding poverty, which we're already in, being the poverty capital of the world, having overtaken India, apart from corruption, monumental corruption, which we're already in, being rated by Transparency International, under the Transparency Anti-Corruption Perception Index in 2022, as the number 149 out of 180 countries in the world, most corrupt, and the second most corrupt country in West Africa. Those ones are already there as indices of a failed or failing state. But one of the greatest indices of a failed state is when non-state actors like Boko Haram, like armed bandits, like kidnappers, begin to challenge the supremacy of legitimate government, dictating the pace in terms of violence, infliction of violence, in terms of control, of instruments, of coercion, of violence. That is a failed state. You don't need any other definition. And that is going on in Nigeria, where Boko Haram and armed bandits will attack the very institution of defense, the Nigerian Defense Academy, and take away some officers, killing one of them. Where Boko Haram, kidnappers, will kidnap some students in Kaduna State, and then dictate to the government and the parents of these children to buy them bags of rice, bags of gari, bags of beans, to buy them tomatoes, tarodo, tatashi, vegetable oil, palm oil, even dictating the quantity that will be bought, that must be bought for them, so that they can feed their children who are under captivity for the purpose of extracting ransom from the parents. That is a failed state. You don't need any definition, other definition for it. So, the president, after the Attorney General did his work gazetting these two groups as terrorist groups, had done well. But he has not done very well. He fell far short of going the whole hog. Declare Boko Haram, mentioning specifically, you are hereby declared a terrorist group. Niyetiala, you that are be owning up to killings, to attacks on innocent villagers, owning up to sending people, you are hereby declared a terrorist group. These are more terrorist inclined than IPOB that were blowing whistles and marching on the streets, carrying club dancing. We want Biafra. We want Biafra. That was what you categorize as terrorism. And then you now put away their leader, the leader of IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He was even captured in Kenya and forcibly brought to Nigeria. He's in detention. When Nigerians, this government particularly, I need to drum it to the ears of this government. Because with all respect, this government appears dumb, and it appears numb, and it appears deaf, and it appears blind. Let me drive it home. When the time of an idea has come, you can't stop it. Adaka Boro was killed for an idea. That did not stop the agitation in the Niger Delta. Kensaru Wiwa was murdered, judicial murder, for an idea. That did not stop the crisis in the Niger Delta. Igboho is kept away, I think somewhere in Republic of Benin. That has not stopped the Yorubas in their agitation for self-determination. The Igbos that want self-determination, which has been spearheaded by IPOB, which I've already shown is a non-violent organization, and the man is kept in prison. Even with him being in prison, the people obey his orders and his instructions. If he says don't go to the market, all the markets in the southeast are shut down. If he says you may now go, they all go. No government can give those directives, and they are obeyed. It shows that that young man in detention is not compelling or forcing the people. Rather, the people are merely galvanized for an idea that they believe in. If they do not believe, and he says sit at home, all of them will say go to hell. In fact, for that reason alone, they will say, since he has told us to sit at home, it is today we will all now go out. Anybody knows that the average Igbo man is independent-minded and is highly Republican. That you cannot force things on him or her. But for them to follow that man in incarceration, that shows that it is an idea that is fighting for, that they believe in, trying to say that we are not that dot in the large cycle as seen by Mr. President. So my honest advice to Mr. President and his advisors is to say, seek a political solution to this Nnamdi Kanu matter. I agree with the president in his interview when he said he cannot interfere with the judicial process. I do agree. He should not be seen to interfere with the judicial process. I score him very highly there. But then, we also know that there are political solutions to issues that are festering, that are not going away. You cannot treat a serious ailment like leprosy with medicine meant for eczema. So you must have to square up to it. Have we not seen cases where an attorney general under section 174 of the Constitution enter a nolle prosequi by saying this crime should no longer be prosecuted. Release the person, let him go and sin no more. That is a political solution. That does not mean that the president would have interfered with the judicial process. Because the right person to do it, the Attorney General of the Federation, under sections 150 and 174 of the Constitution, has done his own job after taking instructions from Mr. President. It is not by Mr. President going to the court to tell the judge, Justice Bintanyako, and say, hello, hands off this matter. Don't try it. No. So he is right to say it cannot be seen to interfere with the judicial process. I score him very highly there. But Mr. President, sir, you can do it politically by instructing the Attorney General of the Federation, who is also your Minister of Justice, to say, enter a nolle prosecute. We want this matter settled. This agitation should go away. These are my children. The Igbo people are part and parcel of this country. They are not a dot in the cycle. They are not the 3 over 95% voters. Whether they voted for you or not, the important thing is that you won your elections. The day you won your elections, you became president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Not president of some aspects, against some aspects, or minus some aspects, or excluding some aspects. That is where Mr. President is missing it. So he must see Nigeria as one whole unit, an aggregate, not as perforated. He must see Nigeria as that Dolly Parton's coat of many colors, linguistically different, religiously different, ethnically different, but with all having a common purpose, which was why some people blamed, or some people did not think Ahmadu Bello did well when he said in 1942, during the debate in the Hansa, that Nigeria was a piece of historical mistake. Awo in this book, written in 1948, also saw Nigeria as a piece of geographical expression. That there are no Nigerians, in the true sense that there are Irish people, or the Scottish people, or the English people. He was right. That was why when Zik, during the independence agitation, told Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, who later became the premier of Northern Region, while Zik became premier of Eastern Region. He said, Zik told Ahmadu Bello, we should forget our differences. Ahmadu Bello gave him the right answer. He said, no. Nnamdi Azikiwe, we should not forget our differences. We should recognize our differences. That you are an Igbo man and a Christian. That I'm a Fulani and a Muslim. But that these are differences, having recognized them, we should now decide to work towards the same goal. It's called the bull's eye. Are we doing that today? Is the presidency promoting that unity, that unison that we ought to see when 97% or more of the entire security apparatus of the country is made up of one section of the country, one religion, thus making you prebendalistic, chronistic, sectionalistic, using favoritism and rule and divide tactics? Can't Mr. President see that the country is bleeding, is hemorrhaging, and that we are actually following, ironically and unfortunately, the social theory of Claude Ake and other eggheads like him, that Nigeria is operating a disarticulate economy where we produce what we do not consume and consume what we do not produce. Can't Mr. President see that? Didn't Mr. President and others, the leaders, the leading lights of APC, were they not on the streets in January 2012 in Operation Close Down Nigeria in Abuja and Lagos and Ibadan and Osogbo over removal of oil subsidy? Because they said the Jonathan government was lying, that there was nothing like subsidy on oil. And in any case, if there was a subsidy, it was only benefiting the few. But that they should not remove it. They demonstrated. Jonathan had increased the fuel price to, I think, about 100 naira. And then that forced him to bring it to 97 from about 88 naira per liter. This government has already increased the pump price of fuel on about 2 occasions. Today is about 165 naira. They are still threatening. They are now calling it final removal of subsidy. And I asked the question, which subsidy? The one you said was not there in January 2012? So we have to be interrogative. We must challenge authority. We must speak truth to authority. We must challenge impunity. We have to ask APC and Mr. President, you promised us that the naira will change at 1 naira to $1 when you become president. You met it at between 170 and 180 naira per the dollar. Today in the black market, the naira is 558 and 559 naira and still counting to the dollar. In the government official rate is over 400. You met it at about 180 maximum. You told us that you will lead from the front as a retired military general and that you will crush Boko Haram. Within 3 months of your coming to power, 6.5 years later and more, and still counting, Boko Haram is waxing stronger and stronger. So you failed on that in this. Then you told us you will wipe out corruption. But today, corruption is trotting about like a proud peacock. Where under Jonathan, Yaradua, and Obasanjo, corruption was democratized, allowing the sit-down syndrome, allowing everybody to still eat and chop. Today, corruption has been privatized. It is in the pockets of less than 0.5% of the 213.9 million Nigerians by United Nations projection. Again, in that area, Mr. President has failed, and his government has failed. Then you told us the third tripoda promise. You will strengthen Nigeria's economy, and we will have one of the best economies in the world. Mr. President, sir, in 2015, you made the Nigerian economy rebased by the World Bank and the IMF at over $500 billion. Nigeria overtook South Africa and made South Africa to become second. Nigeria became the 7th fastest growing economy in the world. Mr. President, sir, today, Nigeria is number 149 out of 180 most corrupt countries in the world, as observed by Transparency International in their Anti-Corruption Perception Index. And Nigeria is the second most corrupt country in West Africa. Again, Mr. President, sir, with all respect, you have again failed in that area. So, sir, what do we do? You still have approximately 1.5 years to do some magic, some miracle. Great presidents are known in times of difficulties. Harry Truman, David Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, the man who on the 19th of November 1863, at his Gettysburg Declaration in Delaware, defined democracy as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Winston Churchill is remembered today for his role during the Second World War. So he becomes immortal, imperishable in the hearts of the Britons. Martin Luther King Jr., a young man, took up the challenge where Rosa Parks stopped. Rosa Parks had been told to vacate her seat for some white people at Montgomery in Alabama, in the United States of America. All the seats reserved for whites had been occupied. The only few ones remaining at the back, near the toilet, were for the blacks. And some whites came and said, vacate your seat. She said, no, I'm too tired. I will not be able. I will not do so. They dragged her up, threw her out, and that started the civil rights movement that swept across America. And Martin Luther King Jr. took it up from there. He walked. So there is this saying that where Rosa Parks sat, Martin Luther King Jr. walked so that Obama could run. Obama has run so that our children can fly. So great leaders are not given to damage assessment or lamentations. When Obama ascended America's presidency in January 2009, he did not go into the books of lamentation as to how President Bush Jr. had taken America virtually into recession. Everybody knew it. But he just started, focused, with his eye on the ball. Started Obamacare. The Republicans were even fighting him not to succeed, while the Democrats were fully with him. There was no lacrimal effusion. There was no tearing up. He squared up to the job because he asked for the job. Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump before he was sworn in January 2021. He had already assembled virtually the entire cabinet. So he hit the ground running. But we saw this government, which was never prepared for governance. They were rather prepared for the bamboo being soaked in his blood. For violence, that's the major participants. Then God touched the heart of that great African Democrat, President, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who, while the votes were still being counted in Kano, called President Buhari, then candidate Buhari, said, Mr. President, sir, congratulations. The president could not believe it. God bless President Buhari, because on 3 occasions at least I've watched him say it, that Jonathan shocked him and surprised him. That what he did, not many people in the world can ever do that. So he congratulated Mr. President. The power you wanted, you couldn't get it in 2003. You failed in 2007. You cried in 2011 after leave, saying that you will never campaign again. But somehow, there was a coalition of forces, different political parties, cobbled together to drive away the PDP from power. And you won. Because they were not prepared for governance. That was why 6 months later, it took up to 6 months before they could assemble a mere cabinet of ministers, with many of them non-performing ministers. So, Mr. President, sir, when the going gets tough, only the tough gets going. Trying times are what bring out the best in leaders, quality leaders. Don't lament over the past. No, sir. History beckons on you to put your name into the pantheon of heroes that govern Nigeria. Apart from Obasanjo, you are the only Nigerian who has had the rare privilege of being both a military head of state and a civilian president. To whom much is given, sir, much is expected. So Nigerians look up to you to remove the present grinding poverty, abject penury, the crimson red blood flowing on the streets and in our farms, to remove the state of neither in which they have found themselves, the melancholy, the gnashing of teeth, the tears, sorrows, and blood, finally hand over power. Whether you can do it or not, time shall tell. But it is in your own interest, sir, to do something so that you remain on the good side of history. So that when Nigerians remember you, they will remember you with kind feelings, not with hatred, not with spite, not with regrets as to why they brought you in under serious populism. Remember, sir, Mr. President, one young man trekked from Lagos to Abuja to celebrate your victory. Remember, sir, another young man rode a bicycle from Kaduna to Abuja to celebrate your victory. Remember, sir, that there was euphoria across the country. Sir, take a drive deliberately under camouflage, incognito, around the cities of Abuja or any other city in Nigeria. Pretend you are not Mr. President. And see that Nigerians are like the walking corpses or the living dead envisaged by Ayi Kwe Ama in his epic, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. Do something about it, sir, so that we will not still fall into that category also envisaged by Ayi Kwe Ama, the same Ayi Kwe Ama, the Chichi Dodo bird. The Chichi Dodo bird hates human excrement with all his heart, with all his soul. But you know it's food, sir. When a person is defecating in the forest, the bird perches by to watch the human feces decay, and then maggots start wriggling out of those feces. The food of the bird that hates human feces is actually maggots that wriggle out of human feces. In other words, you cannot say you hate beans with all your heart and soul, and your best food is akara and moimoi. Such is contradictory. You cannot play Hamlet without the Prince of Denmark. You cannot argue that 6 is different from half a dozen. Sir, the time is short. History beckons on you. Don't attempt to play Romeo without Juliet. The people are your constituency. They elected you into office. And under section 14 of the Constitution, say power belongs to the people, through whom people in government derive their authority to act. So this power belongs to the people. Exercise it, sir, in their favor. Not to do so is to argue that you...
Brilliant. That's Honorable Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He hit that nail on the head, advising the president, please continue to share this, share, because this video here has gone viral. We want this video to get to the right authorities, hopefully the president. And we hope that the president will heed to his advice. Not only his advice, all Nigerians are calling for the president to resign, so that Nigerians will remember you in the good side of history. If you continue to hog that seat, Nigerians will remember you negatively as the president that watched his people being killed in the four corners of the country and didn't say not one word. Mike Ozekeme has said it all. I couldn't have said it any better. This is where I'm going to stop it. I'm going to go to my next topic, which is COVID. For those of you who think there's no COVID in Nigeria, I want you to watch this clip, then we'll come back.
We're leading with this report of a dip in COVID-19 cases in Nigeria, the lowest recorded so far in 2022. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control reported 22 new cases, taking the country's total number of confirmed cases to 253,023. Osun State recorded the highest number with 9 new cases, followed by the Federal Capital Territory with 6 and Delta with 4 new cases. And so far, 229,019 people have been discharged, while 3,135 people have died from COVID-19 related complications. Meanwhile, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has integrated childhood vaccination at COVID-19 vaccination sites for children from 0 to 23 months. This is to ensure that preventable childhood diseases are not neglected in the face of the response against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now you've seen the video of COVID in Nigeria. How many deaths and how many people survived and how many people are still sick of COVID. So it is there. It's real. It is real. For those of you who don't think there's COVID in Nigeria, I believe you've watched this video. Continue to wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, and social distancing is encouraged. You do that and you will be fine. I'll go to my next topic, which is men. Okay, men. This week, I brought a clip for you to see what I've been telling you about prostate. BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia. Please watch this and we come back.
Boy, this large prostate situation is extremely common. As the man ages, 1 out of 2, that's 50%, will get an enlarged prostate. And this is called benign prostatic hyperplasia, which basically means an enlarged prostate. Now, before I get into what to do, because this is actually not a terribly complex problem if you understand it. And also there's a great solution, which I'm going to get to. But I want to just first differentiate. What is the difference between BPH and cancer of the prostate? Are they similar? They're not too similar. In fact, they're pretty different. In cancer, you have these normal cells that then get damaged, specifically the mitochondria, and then they switch over to cancer cells, okay? And so with prostate cancer, that can spread through the body and it can kill you. It's very deadly. But with BPH, it's benign, which means it's not going to spread. It's not going to turn into cancer. It is not deadly. Now, with the symptoms of prostate cancer, you're going to get blood in the urine. You're going to get blood in the semen. You're going to have painful urination. You're going to have a difficult time with an erection. You may have pain with ejaculation. And so the symptoms are very different than BPH, where really this involves just the urinary tract mostly. You're going to get up to the night and want to urinate. You may have the urge to urinate, but can't urinate, or you can't fully eliminate the bladder. So it's a bit incomplete. So with BPH, you just have a lot of different urination issues simply because the prostate is a gland and it wraps around the urethra, which is a little tube from your urinary bladder that comes out through your penis. And as the prostate enlarges, it obstructs the tube and you're not able to fully eliminate freely all the urine that's supposed to come out through the urinary bladder. So you're going to start and stop and start and stop and have dribbling and all sorts of issues. But the prostate should only be the size of a walnut, but it can actually get quite large. Now, with the prostate cancer, a big question is, will phytonutrients, specifically phytoestrogens, make things worse? There are certain compounds in herbs and vegetables that mimic estrogens, okay? They're called phytoestrogens. And we know estrogen dominance in general can cause cancer in women, breast cancer, and also in men as well. And a lot of the chemicals in the environment mimic estrogen, like the pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, heavy metals. They're all considered estrogen disruptors or endocrine disruptors. But when we get to plant-based estrogens like phytoestrogens, there's a couple things you need to know. With phytoestrogens, you can prevent prostate cancer. You can slow down the progression if you have prostate cancer in the early stages. But if you're in a stage 3 or 4 or more, you may want to hesitate because there is some data that these phytoestrogens can actually make things worse. But I want to make a side note. The studies that I read on this were relating to castrated males. So if someone's castrated and they have advanced stages of cancer, they should not consume any phytoestrogens, even in small amounts, because it can make things worse. However, the purpose of this video is to focus more on enlarged prostate. So let's talk about that. So there's two main theories about why men develop a benign prostatic hyperplasia. And based on all the data that I've read, I think both of these theories are true and they both work together. The first theory has to do with as a man ages, okay, their testosterone goes down. And both men and women have both testosterone and estrogen. And so as a man ages, as their testosterone goes down, their estrogen goes up in relationship. So they have this ratio of lowered testosterone and higher estrogen. That's what occurs with aging. And if anything can be said about BPH, it is that it's involved with aging, factors of aging. So number one, we have lower testosterone and higher levels of estrogen. And estrogen makes things grow, especially the prostate. Estrogen also can cause your pituitary to trigger another hormone called prolactin that can also enlarge the prostate. As one ages, many times they gain more weight, they have more fat, and the more fat you have, the more estrogen you're going to have too, because there's a certain enzyme that will convert your testosterone to estrogen. And that enzyme is called aromatase. And this happens in both men and women. And if your liver's been damaged, let's say it's inflamed, let's say you have a fatty liver or you have cirrhosis, scar tissue of the liver, you're going to generate more estrogen. And I'm sorry to have to tell you this if you like to drink beer, but alcohol, especially beer, will affect the liver in that you're going to raise your estrogen levels a lot higher than your testosterone. So alcohol in general, lower your testosterone and raise your estrogen. Okay, the other thing that I want to mention, and this is important to understand, there's 3 types of estrogen, okay? You got estrogen 1, 2, and 3. And these estrogens out there, they kind of connect to these little receptors, okay, in different parts of the body. It's only the estrogen 2 that can enlarge the prostate, not estrogen 1 or estrogen 3. And all those phytoestrogens, those plant-based compounds that affect estrogen, only affect estrogen number 1, not 2, not 3. So phytoestrogens do not enlarge the prostate. However, they do attempt to go into the receptors in estrogen 2 and end up blocking them. So other types of estrogen cannot create the effect. So they help lower the estrogen 2, which indirectly protects you against this prostate enlargement problem. So when you hear all this information out there about plant-based estrogens enlarging your prostate, it's absolutely not true. It's not going to happen. All right, the second part of this puzzle involves testosterone. As your testosterone decreases, you also have a powerful form of testosterone called DHT, okay? That increases. DHT is responsible for hair loss. It's also responsible for the enlargement of your prostate. So as you age, you have lower testosterone and higher levels of DHT. Those people that have genetic problems where they can't make DHT never develop an enlarged prostate. So the question is, what's making more of this DHT? Well, this relates to another enzyme. Okay, the name of that enzyme is called 5-alpha reductase. And if you have too much of that enzyme, you're going to get too much DHT, and that could potentially enlarge your prostate. All right, so now that you know both mechanisms, what can we do about it? Okay, well, the first strategy is to start consuming more phytoestrogens. Okay, that's going to help you. And there's a real common one called genistein that a lot of people take for enlarged prostate. And genistein is a phytoestrogen that's in a lot of legumes. It's in a lot of different things that can help with this enlarged prostate. The next thing is cruciferous vegetables, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all increase the amount of phytoestrogen in the body. So you should start eating those foods on a regular basis. They will not increase the estrogen number 2. They'll block it to prevent other things from entering into that receptor that can cause an enlarged prostate. Now, the next 2 strategies involving blocking those 2 enzymes. One of the enzymes called aromatase, and that's the one that converts testosterone into estrogen, okay? And that's in your fat cells, it's in other cells. And so you want to take aromatase inhibitors, okay? Now, certain medications for the prostate do it synthetically. I recommend doing the natural versions of that. And believe it or not, I released a video recently by blending the entire lemon, the lemon peel, the white part, the seeds, everything, every morning with some stevia, and you would blend it in some water and drink that. Apparently citrus peels, okay, from lemons and limes can act as an aromatase inhibitor. So if you haven't seen that video, I put it down below. It's a real easy thing to do, and it'll also give you a lot of vitamin C and other things as well. Another really powerful aromatase inhibitor is stinging nettle root. I like stinging nettle root a lot because it's a great anti-inflammatory as well. So if you have arthritis, definitely want to take that one. And then the other one is DIM. Okay, DIM is a concentrated cruciferous compound that you can take as a supplement and greatly help in the balance of excessive amounts of estrogen. And then the third category is to block the other enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. And so you want to inhibit that enzyme. And that would be by taking saw palmetto, which you probably already heard that's good for the prostate. Also, pumpkin seeds will help reduce that enzyme. And green tea will reduce that enzyme. And zinc will help reduce that enzyme. So now you know why it works. But on the flip side, you also want to avoid certain things too. High levels of insulin can act as a growth factor for your prostate. So you definitely need to go low carb, as well as doing intermittent fasting. I would also avoid dairy products because dairy has some estrogenic compounds. And you may have already connected the dots between times that you, for supper, had more dairy, and then that night you're getting up having more urination problems or having problems voiding. So dairy is a factor. Then we have alcohol. Okay, if you want a good alternative for alcohol, I would try kombucha tea. It's similar in texture to beer, and it gives you a nice relaxation effect. Now, the other point I want to bring up is plastics. I've done a whole video on this, but unfortunately, the plastics in our environment are mimicking estrogen and creating some serious problems, especially with an enlarged prostate. An average person in the US consumes the amount of nanoplastics that would equal the size of a credit card. So I do have a video on that, and I put that down below as well. If you're drinking water and without a filter, like tap water, you're going to be getting a lot of compounds that mimic estrogen as well. especially those plastics. So you want to get a water filter for your house. And then you have the hormones in the foods, right? So if you're not consuming many organic foods and you eat out at a fast food restaurant, you're getting a lot of hormones that are coming from the animal products that are being mimicked from the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, things like that. Now, as a really simple thing that you can do right off the bat is to start including whole lemons, okay, in the blender with water every time you get up in the morning. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to put it up right here. Check it out.
Oh, well, the doctor has said it all. I don't have anything to add to it. Every week I'm going to be presenting you videos upon videos with prostate so that you know what is waiting for you out there when you get a little older. So just take care of yourself. If you are 50 and above, take care of yourself. Nobody will do it for you. Until I come to you next weekend, have a wonderful weekend and God bless you. And bye for now.